Of course, my answer was yes. There was no choice. I had no clue what I was walking into. When I arrived later that night and I got out of the car, you could smell the house from the street. Hello, friends, and welcome to The Free Advantage, brought to you by The Risky Path. Each week, you will join me here as we explore self-liberation, authenticity, and the journey to uncovering a life of freedom. This podcast is about sharing and exploring impactful experiences that we all share in a relatable and digestible way. With so much information out there, it can be overwhelming to take it all in. And here, I want to give you small bites that you can take back into your week and integrate into your daily life. Today, I want to talk about inner work. Inner work is something that we need and none of us want to do. Trust me, neither did I for most of my life. But realizing how not working on ourselves as human beings affects our quality of life was extremely eye-opening for me. To grow and live free, it's the thing we must all face. Ourselves. Everyone talks about self-improvement. I mean, it's a billion-dollar industry. But honestly, improvement is like dessert. There's always room for it. So when we dig into inner work, we aren't really trying to improve ourselves. We are trying to understand and heal ourselves. And healing isn't a movement at all. We are self-healing beings. It's our God-given ability. Sifting through the hard times in my life and really getting in and muddling through all the hurt and pain, I had found that the true culprits behind it all. I had been able to decipher the truth and begin working on understanding, forgiving, letting go, and moving forward instead of letting the symptoms of my past continue to steal my now. Don't get me wrong, though. There are plenty of things that I have not entirely worked through that I still struggle with. There always will be. Healing is a lifelong process. But there's so much more now that I am not, and I'm so much happier, content, and free for it. And I have grown and I am more capable of the inner work now than I ever was before. So, where do we start? When there is so much to uncover and unpack, inner work can feel very overwhelming and terrifying. It can feel much safer to keep the box to Pandora shut, but we don't have to do everything all at once. I want to share a story with you. This was a very pivotal moment for me in my life, one where everything changed. It was my rock bottom. There was a time when everything just came crashing down on me. I was alone, broke, and sitting in the middle of a cat shit-filled house. And yes, you heard that right. Cat shit. How did this happen, you ask? Well, it was Valentine's Day night not long ago, and I had been kicked out of my home by my then husband, who told me, and I quote, I was a worthless piece of shit and I had no monetary value and to get the F out of his house. I was literally left with nothing, not a penny to my name. I had been recovering from a bad car accident, I was finishing hair school at the time, and I had my 12-year-old in tow. And thanks to my good friend, he was able to secure me a home in his neighborhood, and if I was willing to clean it up, since the last tenant had left a mess, the landlord was willing to help me out. Of course, my answer was yes. There was no choice. I had no clue what I was walking into. When I arrived later that night and I got out of the car, you could smell the house from the street. All you could smell was cat. Now, don't get me wrong. I was fortunate to be living there. The house was in a good neighborhood, but it had a very bad tenant that unfortunately had opened up that home to about 200 stray cats and turned the whole entire house into a litter box. But as lucky as I was, it was not how I felt. How in the ever-loving hell did I end up here? How did this happen? What am I going to do? I thought, I can't live in this. I can't bring my son into this. There were so many things going through my mind, and as the days passed and all of the cleaning began, my physical life manifested my internal world. It's very hard to ignore your problems when they begin to show up on the outside. I was completely exposed, not just to the world, but to myself. Denial was no longer something I could afford. That's when I finally listened to that voice inside, the one telling me that things need to change. I stopped trying to fix myself and started doing the real work, accepting, forgiving, and letting go. I am so forever grateful that there came a time in my life when all of those chips fell and the cards were shown, and I was left sitting alone with my lies, empty, alone, and broke. That when I heard the voice, I heard the call to make a change, the change that was so severely needed that I freaking listened. I won't lie to you. I made so many mistakes. I messed up a lot along the way. I cried, I yelled at God, I self sabotaged, but I tried. I held on. I held on because I already knew what all the negative behavior brought me. It did not come easy, and it did not come fast, and it did not come all at once. It was more like I was getting little pieces of a puzzle day by day, slowly seeing this picture come together. I realized healing was never about fixing. It was about giving myself space to accept the person I had become with all of my flaws and my mistakes. I'll be honest, there was this time in my life when acceptance then seemed super impossible. I thought that one day I would just finally be content if I could fix myself and work harder at improving. But that's just not how it works, is it? I realized that not working on myself, not facing the truth, was affecting my quality of life and the people around me. I found myself sitting on the floor in my own pain as I had many, many times before, but this time, instead of running, I stayed. I faced the hurt. And what I discovered is that acceptance, not improvement, was the key. We're not broken. We don't need to fix ourselves. What we need is to heal and to understand and to let go. Acceptance is also not the same thing as resignation. We are not resigning to the fact that things are just this way and that's how they always will be. No, absolutely not. Acceptance is about giving yourself space to breathe as you are, connect with your humanity, and the time to move into the you were created to be. But there are barriers to acceptance. What I've learned is that acceptance is hard to lend ourselves and to others because of judgment. We as humans are judgmental, even when we don't want to be. It's built in. I mean, those judgments grow over time as we learn and as we age. We become more biased, we become more judgmental. What I've observed and learned about judging others is that we only tend to judge others where we judge ourselves. When we hold ourselves to a specific standard, when we wouldn't do something or we would, and we see others stepping outside of that box that we created for ourselves, we place judgment and we place blame. Now, I know this isn't brand new news to everyone listening, but what I want to focus on is that this is also exactly how we treat ourselves. I mean, for goodness sakes, if we hold ourselves to such a high standard, what do you think we do to ourselves when we don't meet that standard? We judge. We judge ourselves just as much as we judge others. And when we judge, we can't accept. We place ourselves outside of the box and we point fingers. We shame ourselves, believing that by punishment of shame, we will eventually conform to the standard set before us. Eventually, if we are hard enough on ourselves, we will change. This behavior and mindset can come from childhood, society, and sometimes just innately within us. But the truth is that the only way to true healing, to true growth, is to accept ourselves for who we are, where we are, and how we are at this moment. There is a quote that's used in AA, and it goes like this. It says, "An acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment." Though I have never been in recovery from an addiction, I love that this quote is so perfect for people in recovery because I believe we are all in recovery for something. Whether we are searching for more, a better way of life, contentment, fulfillment, or those of us who are just searching for acceptance, authenticity, truth, and freedom, we are all in recovery of our past selves. I know I am in recovery every day from the me I was conditioned and raised to be. When I am struggling with acceptance, I remember this quote. Now, I have been guilty more times than I can count for judging myself harshly for not living up to some idea of who I thought I should be. I judged others when they didn't fit into the box that I'd created for myself. But here's what I've learned: that true healing and true growth and true freedom come from accepting ourselves, and that acceptance has to be unconditional. When we judge, we are not giving ourselves or others the room to grow. We are not allowing space for the process. Acceptance means we give ourselves space to breathe, to be human, to make mistakes, and to move forward at our own pace. I invite you to reflect on your life where acceptance could help move you forward. Here's some questions for you to reflect on this week. Where in your life are you judging yourself and others? In what areas of your life are you struggling to accept yourself? How could accepting where you are today open the door for more healing and growth? Looking back, not accepting myself was indicative of self-betrayal. I did not love myself and find myself worthy of the life and dreams I was given. I could not walk in my freedom and purpose because I was too blind, too tunnel vision to see that the one person that mattered, the one person that I needed to accept, the one person that was losing if I didn't, was me. Acceptance isn't about giving up. It's about creating space for healing, growth, and transformation. Before we go today, I want you to remember that you don't need to improve to be worthy of love or acceptance. You are enough as you are, right here, right now. And if you're finding yourself in a moment of judgment, whether it's toward yourself or someone else, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself what acceptance could bring in this moment. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here today on The Free Advantage. For more resources, visit my website, theriskypath.com. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And please don't forget, like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Your voice matters. It helps us to grow and to get our message out to more people just like you. Let's continue the journey to freedom together. And remember, freedom is the advantage you already own. Until next time.